The massive alien ship drifted silently above Earth's atmosphere, its metallic hull gleaming like a cold knife against the dark backdrop of space. General Coral stood on the bridge, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back, scanning the blue-green planet below with eyes that had seen hundreds of planetary conquests. Jay Park sat in the underground monitoring station, his fingers tapping nervously on the worn control panel. Outside, the morning was quiet. Too quiet. The first reports had come in an hour ago. Something massive had entered Earth's orbital zone, and it wasn't human. "Sir," a young technician called out, "we're detecting multiple large objects approaching from the upper atmosphere." Coral turned to his second-in-command, a reptilian-like officer named Vrel. "Prepare the initial landing units. These humans will be another simple acquisition for the Imperial fleet." The first dropships broke through the cloud layer with terrifying precision. They looked like massive metal insects, each one capable of carrying hundreds of combat units. In rural areas of North America, farmers looked up in confusion. In city centers, emergency sirens began to wail. Jay Park knew this was different from any invasion scenario they had practiced. The ships moved with an intelligence that suggested more than simple military conquest. Something about their approach felt calculated, almost surgical. "They're targeting major infrastructure," Kim muttered, her fingers racing across multiple holographic displays. Communication centers, power grids, military installations. The first alien units touched down in open fields and urban centers simultaneously. They were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Tall, armored creatures with multiple limbs and weapons that seemed to pulse with strange energy. Their armor was a shifting metallic gray that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. In a small military base in Colorado, soldiers who had trained for every possible scenario found themselves completely unprepared. Standard weapons seemed to bounce off the alien armor. Their communication systems went dead within minutes of the first contact. General Corral watched the initial reports stream in. Each unit was transmitting data back to the mothership. Humans were running, hiding, attempting to fight back with weapons that seemed like children's toys against the alien technology. Estimated time of complete planetary control, Corral spoke to his bridge crew. Approximately 72 standard cycles. But something was different about these humans. Unlike previous civilizations they had conquered, these beings moved with an unpredictability that was unsettling. In a small research facility in California, Wu Choi watched the invasion unfold. Where others saw destruction, he saw opportunity. The alien technology was advanced but not incomprehensible. If they could just get a closer look, understand the principles behind the weapons. The first day of invasion was chaos. Alien units moved through cities like shadows, neutralizing any resistance with precision. Military bases fell within hours. Communication networks collapsed. To the alien fleet, it seemed like a textbook conquest. But beneath the surface, something was brewing. Humans might look fragile, might seem disorganized, but they had something the aliens didn't understand. An incredible capacity to adapt. Jay Park gathered the first survivors in an underground bunker. Military personnel, scientists, civilians. Anyone who had managed to escape the initial assault. They weren't defeated, they were planning. "They think we're helpless," Kim whispered, her eyes reflecting the holographic maps showing alien troop movements. "They have no idea what's coming." As night fell on the first day of invasion, the alien fleet celebrated what they believed was an easy victory. General Corral reviewed the initial conquest reports, a sense of mild boredom crossing his alien features. Little did he know that beneath the smoking ruins of cities, in hidden bunkers and improvised command centers, humans were already beginning to fight back in ways the Imperial fleet could never have anticipated. The second day of invasion brought a different kind of silence. Not the silence of surrender, but the quiet calculation of a species preparing to fight back. Wu Choi moved through the underground research facility, examining fragments of alien technology they had managed to recover. Strange metallic pieces that seemed to pulse with an internal energy, weapons that defied conventional physics. Where others saw destruction, he saw possibility. In the first wave, The aliens had destroyed major military installations. They believed this would crush human resistance, but they didn't understand human nature. J. Park gathered a group of survivors, former military personnel, engineers, scientists. They weren't an army in the traditional sense. They were something more dangerous, adaptable, angry, desperate. They think we're broken, Jay said, pointing at the crude map showing alien troop movements. But we're just getting started. Kim had been working non-stop. She had discovered something peculiar about the alien communication systems. They were advanced, but they had a weakness, a pattern, and patterns could be broken. The aliens moved through cities like mechanical predators. Their weapons could slice through tanks, melt concrete, destroy entire city blocks in seconds. But they moved with a rigid structure, a predictable pattern, that suggested they had never faced true guerrilla resistance. In the ruins of Chicago, a small group of survivors watched an alien patrol unit move through the broken streets. Where conventional military would have run or fought head-on, these humans did something unexpected. They waited. A young mechanic named Min Ho had stripped parts from destroyed vehicles. He had created makeshift jamming devices using parts from destroyed alien tech. When the patrol unit passed their hidden position, something strange happened. The alien weapons malfunctioned. Communication systems went dead. For a few critical moments, they were blind and deaf. The ambush was swift and brutal. General Corral received the first reports of unexpected resistance, small units disappearing, communication disruptions. It was unusual. Humans were supposed to be running, hiding, surrendering. Instead, they were fighting back. In the mountains of Colorado, a group of former Special Forces operators had established a hidden base. They were studying captured alien equipment, understanding its weaknesses. Every piece of technology had a flaw. Every system could be exploited. J. Park's network was growing. They were collecting information, sharing resources, creating a resistance that moved like smoke. No central command, no single point of failure. The aliens had planned for a traditional military confrontation. They had not planned for this. Kim's breakthrough came unexpectedly. By understanding the quantum communication frequencies of the alien systems, she could create localized disruption fields, areas where alien technology simply stopped working. They're predictable, she told Wu Choi. Technologically advanced, but trapped by their own rigid thinking. In urban centers, survivors were learning. They weren't just hiding, they were watching, learning, adapting. An alien patrol unit would enter a sector. Moments later, it would be ambushed. Not with massive firepower, but with intelligence. Jammers, improvised explosives, attacks that came from nowhere and everywhere. General Corral's confidence was starting to crack. These weren't the easy targets they had expected. These humans were something else entirely. By the end of the second day, the invasion had transformed. What was supposed to be a simple conquest was becoming something far more complex. The humans were fighting back, and they were just getting started. In hidden bunkers, in mountain bases, in the ruins of cities, a resistance was growing. Not just a military resistance, a technological revolution. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity's most powerful weapon: adaptability. The underground research facility hummed with an electric energy of possibility. Wu Choi stood over a dismantled alien weapon, his eyes gleaming with understanding. Piece by piece, they were learning the secrets of technology that seemed like magic just weeks ago. Kim's team had discovered something extraordinary. The alien technology wasn't unbreakable. It was just different. Complex circuits that looked random actually followed precise quantum patterns. Where others saw impenetrable technology, they saw a puzzle waiting to be solved. We're not just copying, Wu explained to J. Park. We're reimagining. 3 weeks into the invasion, human technology was changing faster than the aliens could comprehend. A plasma cannon captured from an alien dropship was now being reverse-engineered, not just copied but improved. Adapted. In a makeshift workshop beneath the ruins of a California research center, Engineers worked with captured alien equipment, old car batteries, broken computer parts, pieces of military hardware. Nothing was wasted. Everything could be transformed. The first breakthrough came unexpectedly. A young engineer named Minho discovered that alien quantum communication systems could be disrupted using a modified radio frequency generator. What took alien scientists years to develop, humans accomplished in days. J. Park's resistance network was more than a military operation. It was a global brain trust. Information traveled faster than alien weapons. Every captured piece of technology was studied, understood, reimagined. In mountain bases and hidden facilities, humans were doing something the aliens never expected. They weren't just fighting, they were evolving. Adaptive nano-armor emerged from their research. Lightweight protection that could change its molecular structure in milliseconds. A bulletproof vest that could become as hard as tank armor or as flexible as a second skin. The aliens had planned for a straightforward invasion. They had not planned for human creativity. Quantum entanglement communication systems were next. Where alien technology was rigid and controlled, human adaptations became fluid and unpredictable. Communication networks that could not be traced, intercepted, or destroyed. General Corral received increasingly disturbing reports. Human resistance wasn't just surviving, it was advancing at an impossible rate. Technologies that should have taken decades were being developed in weeks. Wu Choi's team created something remarkable: adaptive weapon systems that could learn and modify themselves during combat. A weapon that could analyze enemy technology and develop counter-strategies in real time. The research wasn't just happening in one location. It was distributed, decentralized. Every captured alien device became a learning opportunity. Every piece of technology a potential breakthrough. In the ruins of Tokyo, a group of engineers created a jamming device that could disable entire alien patrol units. In the mountains of Peru, scientists developed adaptive camouflage technology that made human units almost invisible. The invasion was no longer about survival. It was about understanding, transformation. He Kim understood something fundamental about the alien technology. It was advanced, but it was also predictable. Designed for conquest, not adaptation. Human technology was different, messy, unpredictable. They see technology as a tool, she told J. Park. We see it as an extension of human creativity. Alien weapon systems that once seemed invincible were now being neutralized, not through brute force but through intelligence, understanding, reimagination. By the end of the third week, the technological landscape had completely changed. What began as a hopeless invasion was becoming a battle of innovation. The aliens had weapons. Humans had imagination, and imagination, they were discovering, was the most powerful weapon of all. The technological revolution was just beginning, and humanity was just getting started. The sky burned with alien dropships, but this time, something was different. Humanity was no longer running. They were hunting. J. Park stood in the Advanced Command Center, watching holographic displays that showed a global network of resistance units. No longer isolated, they moved with a precision that would have been impossible weeks ago. Each unit was connected, sharing real-time intelligence, adapting faster than the alien systems could track. Wu Choi's technological innovations had transformed human resistance into something unprecedented. Adaptive combat suits that could change color and molecular density in milliseconds. Weapons that learned and modified themselves during combat. Communication networks that existed everywhere and nowhere. The first major counteroffensive began in the ruins of what was once San Francisco. A combined unit of former military personnel, engineers, and local survivors launched a coordinated attack that defied all alien tactical understanding. They weren't just fighting, they were psychological warfare incarnate. Alien patrol units would approach a seemingly abandoned urban sector. Moments later, they would be attacked from impossible angles. Weapons that shouldn't exist, tactics that made no logical sense. He Kim had discovered the fundamental weakness in alien military strategy. They understood technology. They understood traditional warfare. They did not understand human unpredictability. A single human unit could now do the work of an entire alien battalion, not through superior firepower, but through intelligence, creativity, and an ability to adapt that defied conventional military logic. In the mountains of South America, a small resistance group used modified alien communication systems to create false signals. Entire alien squadrons were being led into traps, misdirected by technologies they couldn't comprehend. General Corral watched in growing horror as his invasion plan collapsed. These weren't just soldiers. They were something else. A networked intelligence that moved like liquid, struck like lightning, disappeared like smoke. The psychological impact was as devastating as the physical attacks. Alien units that once moved with absolute confidence now hesitated, watched, feared. J. Park's Global Resistance Network was more than a military operation. It was a living, breathing organism. Information traveled faster than alien weapons. Every captured technology became a new opportunity. Every defeat a learning experience. In the deserts of North Africa, a resistance unit used captured alien dropship technology to create mobile command centers that could appear and disappear at will. In the frozen landscapes of Siberia, engineers created camouflage technologies that made human units almost invisible. The counteroffensive wasn't just about fighting back. It was about reimagining warfare itself. Alien communication channels were increasingly filled with confusion. Reports that made no sense. Tactical situations that violated every known military principle. They were fighting an enemy that didn't follow rules. Wu Choi's adaptive weapon systems were a game changer. A single rifle could now modify its ammunition type, trajectory, and energy signature in milliseconds. Weapons that thought, that learned. The global resistance had transformed human survival into an art form. No central command, no single point of weakness. A distributed network of innovation and resistance that moved like a living organism. General Corral received reports that seemed impossible. Entire alien battalions neutralized by small human units. Advanced technologies rendered useless. Communication systems compromised. What had started as a simple invasion was becoming humanity's defining moment. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to prove something fundamental about their species. That creativity, adaptability, and collective intelligence were more powerful than any technological advantage. The counteroffensive was more than a military operation. It was a statement. Humanity would not be conquered, not today, not ever. The final battle wasn't a single moment. It was a global symphony of resistance, strategy, and human determination. General Corral watched in absolute disbelief as his once invincible fleet crumbled. The massive mothership systems were failing, attacked from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Humans had done the impossible. They had transformed an attempted extermination into a species-defining triumph. J. Park stood in the Global Command Center, surrounded by a network of survivors who had become something more than soldiers. They were engineers, scientists, strategists, a collective intelligence that moved like a living organism. The alien technology that once seemed unbeatable was now being turned against its creators. Quantum communication systems hijacked, weapon signatures rewritten, entire invasion strategies dismantled through pure human creativity. Wu Choi's final breakthrough came in the last critical hours. A complete neural hack of the alien fleet's central command systems, not through brute force but through an understanding so deep it bordered on poetry. He, Kim, had discovered something fundamental about the alien technology. It was advanced, but rigid, designed for conquest, not adaptation. Human technology was messy, unpredictable, alive. The alien units that had once moved with absolute precision now found themselves confused, misdirected, fighting an enemy that didn't exist in any traditional military understanding. In the skies, above Earth, alien ships began to fall. not destroyed by massive firepower but neutralized by intelligence that rewrote the very rules of engagement. General Coral's famous breakdown echoed across communication channels. His voice broke with a mixture of rage and disbelief. These humans just won't die. It was more than a battle. It was a statement about the human spirit. Small resistance units moved through destroyed cities, turning alien technology into tools of survival. Every captured weapon, every broken system became an opportunity for innovation. Where others saw destruction, humans saw potential. The final moments of the invasion were a global dance of resistance. In the mountains of Peru, a small team redirected alien weapon systems. In the deserts of Africa, engineers created communication networks that could not be tracked or destroyed. J. Park's global network had done something unprecedented. They had transformed human survival into a collective intelligence. No single leader, no central command. A distributed system of innovation and resistance. Alien communication channels filled with impossible reports. Entire battalions neutralized by small human units. Advanced technologies rendered useless. A war that made no sense from any traditional military perspective. Wu Choi watched as the adaptive weapon systems he had developed turned the tide. Rifles that could modify themselves. Armor that could change molecular density in milliseconds. Technologies that thought. That learned. The mothership systems began to collapse. Not through massive explosions, but through 1,000 small innovations. Redirected communication signals. Hijacked weapon systems. A death by 1,000 creative cuts. General Corral realized something terrifying in those final moments. They hadn't just underestimated human technology. They had underestimated human spirit. As the last alien ships fell from the sky, humanity emerged changed. Not just survivors, but something more. A species that had looked certain extinction in the eye and reimagined the very concept of survival. The invasion was over, but something new had begun. In the Global Command Center, J. Park looked at his team. They weren't soldiers anymore. They were architects of a new future. Humanity had not just survived. They had transformed.